Today we use police officers who basically, for almost every social issue we have. For example, we use police for homeless people. Why wouldn't we just help them get a home and a job and settled in? We have police bring people in who are on drugs. Why wouldn't we have a mental health counselor, a drug rehabilitation specialist help them? It's all purposeful. Our police are not there to protect and serve unless you are white and, fairly well off. These police are still slave catchers, as far as I'm concerned. And boy, did they show their stuff during these protests. The myth of police reform is that police reform is this idea saying that the real problem is the belief that our social problems can be solved with force. And we can force the drunk person to do better. We can force the person who's drugged out to do better. We can force the homeless person. Defunding versus reform. So for years, we've heard we should make sure all police have body cameras, anti-bias training, I guess you could call it, to reform racism and police brutality. And according to Alex Vital, who is a professor of sociology and a coordinator of a special project, it's the Policing and Social Justice Project in Brooklyn, he says that won't cut it. And he's an expert in the field. He's written a book. The only way to get police better is to get less of them by defunding them. According to this professor, police are the public face of the failure of the state to provide people's basic needs and to paper over the failures with solutions that just harm people further. So let me say that one more time. Police are the public face of the failure of states to provide for people's basic needs. And it absolutely makes sense. Think about that. We don't have mental health coverage for people. More than half the people in friggin' jail and prison probably have mental illnesses that could be treated, just like if they had a heart disease. But we are so incredibly into punishing people instead of helping them, and it's disgusting. Vitali says that one of the reasons today's protests are so much larger and widespread than they were 5 years ago was because the people were told, don't worry, white people, we're going to give the police implicit bias training and we'll give them body cams and it'll all get better. Well, 5 years later, nothing has changed. If anything, it's gotten worse. A lot of people believe that accountability in the form of having people who are killer cops be put in jail, that's going to solve it. According to this guy who wrote this book, and he is a leading expert in the field, no. That is an indication that people think, oh, it's just one bad apple. That's the one bad apple thing. No, it's the entire batch. It's the whole damn orchard. And defunding, according to this guy, is the only way. The legal system is actually designed, which we all know, to protect police. It's a culture. It's a system. They don't call it systemic racism for nothing. Secondly, when police are prosecuted, the system tosses them out and says they're a bad apple, and that reinforces that the system's fine. It's just a couple people. It's not. It's the system. It's the way the system has always been. Cities and states have done this, taking out of the bad apples, and they don't see improvement. It's not just one person. It's the entire system. It's rigged literally for getting away with murder. Vital believes that there's a growing popular awareness, and he seemed thrilled in the interview I saw, that police are what our society uses in lieu of decent social programs. Accountability in the form of stuffing a police in a jail cell, it doesn't work. And what he says is it doesn't work because there's been statistics done on it. If you are not doing it yourself, you're watching someone else doing it, not turning it in. People are starting to catch on and become aware that police are what our society has chosen to use. Brute force and inhumane, cold inhumanity, instead of just making some social programs. We are not here for the people in this country. We are here for the wealthiest elite. Vital believes that when you see people holding up a sign that says defund the police, okay, which I'm sure many of us have seen, what they're saying is that we're not going to fix police, but instead we're going to reduce the amount as much as humanly possible and replace them with democratic, public, social services and non-police solutions. So they are not saying, when they say defund, they don't mean eradicate. They really mean defund. Take a big chunk of the money that's used to pay brutes to go around and be rotten to people who need help. And instead of that, take that money and actually make viable social programs to help the people, not arrest them and take them into jail and make them live in a prison cell, a cage, because we're too freaking cheap to give a crap and actually get them help. Mental illness can be worked with. I don't know if you all, I know a lot about mental illness, and it's workable. You need a lot of resources, but if you have mental illness, you can absolutely do okay and normally, function pretty normally with some support. But instead, they throw us in prison. Hell, it's a crime to be impoverished. You have to pay bail? Forget it. You know how many people are in jail right now? Haven't even been tried yet? They're literally serving terms in jail, like as if they're in prison, because they haven't had a trial yet. A lot of them are probably innocent, yet they lose their jobs, they lose their homes, they lose their family, they lose their kids, they lose their self-esteem, they lose their mental health. Hell, they probably lose their physical health now with COVID, and they don't give a shit. So the idea is to take a huge amount of money that we put into police and publicly finance alternatives. How about this? People who are, addicted to drugs, get them some goddamn help, some counseling, some, those rich and famous people always seem to get help with their drugs when they get addicted. Why can't everybody? There's no reason. It's because we punish people who aren't rich. We have double, triple, quadruple standards. People who have addictions need doctors and counselors and help and love and care. They cannot handle life. Okay? Life's very hard to handle. They do not need to be treated like a piece of shit, thrown in a cage, not allowed to see their people who love them. It just makes me so sick. The system is working the way white supremacy designed it to work. Exactly. Like when people say, well, the system's broken. No, the system's not broken. The system is absolutely not broken. It's working all too well. It's doing exactly what it was meant to do. And it's doing it pretty damn well, and it's disgusting.